Is this a Zeus thing? The Greek god. In all the stories, he came down from Olympus trying to get laid, but he turned himself into a swan or something to blend in. I'm guessing you popped down here from Saigon from Mars 20 years after you abandoned humanity. I do not experience the concept of before. Why is a blue man trying to act like a human? Who in their right mind would want to be romantically linked to a god? We find all that out. It's Sunday, December 8th, 2019. Two people, one genius, discuss HBO's Watchmen. An hour from now, they stop discussing, and everyone agrees with the genius. The genius is Tehran. We are talking HBO's Watchmen, Season 1, Episode 8. A god walks into a bar. The AfterBuzz After Show starts right now.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, the buzz begins.
TikTok.
It's a great app and a great slogan for this show.
I don't, you know, the thing about Watchmen is it's always so much to digest every single week.
Yeah.
And it's not a stomach ache.
I'm having trouble digesting though.
I am not.
It's just a full 3-course meal.
It is.
That was like a 7-course meal.
It's a 7-course meal at a fine dining restaurant.
Finished with cake and candles.
That only you know about. It feels like it's a fine dining restaurant that only you know about. That's what makes it so brilliant. Sunday, December 8th, 2019.
A day that will live in infamy.
I experience everything simultaneously.
Yeah, time is a flat circle.
And we're going to talk about this show simultaneously with all of you. And by we, I mean us three, the panel of three, which discusses HBO's Watchmen each and every week. This week, we are talking HBO's Watchmen, Season 1, Episode 8. A god walks into a bar, or a bar, or a bar, however you'd like to pronounce it on that triple entendre as set by the show. It's absolutely brilliant. The panel of three consists of one, Ryan Nilsen, all the way to the left's left.
Yes, Head of Popcorn Talk. So happy to be here. Maybe the best title of an episode of television.
But unfortunately, Ryan Nilsen is unworthy to be on this panel, to be very fair.
Or wear a hat, apparently.
To his right and to my left, we have the dubious Nate Miller.
I'll take that. Dubious. I'm not sure about the context, but yes, that's me. I'm Nate Miller.
Yes, also
the dubious.
Unworthy to be on this panel. Also unworthy. And of course, now you are joined by me, the one and only true Dr. Manhattan, Tehran. You don't know that. You don't know my life. You don't know who I could possibly be. You don't know.
You're right.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
all.
right. You could have the thing in your head.
Exactly.
You could not know.
I could not know, but I know.
But you know that
But
you
I know that I don't know.
You know that you don't know.
Exactly. Because I learned
Because you learned it already. Yeah. Right now you're learning.
Thank you for understanding. Ryan has no idea what we're discussing.
Earlier you didn't know.
Because he has no idea.
I already know what you're discussing because I experience everything at the same time.
You're not worthy on this panel. We're going to break this episode
You can never
down.
create this, Tehran.
Okay? I create life.
You are not creative.
You
don't have an imagination.
You have a lack of imagination, Ryan.
It's funny because 6 months ago, someone told me I had a great imagination.
We're going to break down this episode. Only those who watch the show know what we're talking about. Yeah. These are all Watchmen inside jokes because I'm sure that our fourth member of this trio in the booth, the 10.5 herself, all that in a bag of chips, Steph Sabra, has no clue what we are discussing.
None whatsoever, but I do feel like I'm the genius in this four-person
Yeah,
sitch.
I would agree with that.
Thank you, Nate. You're redeeming yourself.
Nate's just afraid of you.
I don't know what
We're
you're
going to
talking
break
about.
this episode down as thus. How Angela met Calvin, Plan A, Europa. Calvin is so woke, and you know what I mean by that. Calvin meets the family. Meeting Grandpa Reeves is a bigger deal than we knew. The paradox, chicken or the egg, tragedy strikes. Will you stay, Master? The after scenes where I hope everyone stayed tuned for after the credits or during the credits as it rolled to the end.
There was an after credit.
We got the Vite segment. Of course, we're going to discuss our special segment, Buy or Sell, where we buy or sell a part of the show which we really liked and something which we could sell and do without. Typically, it just means something that is less than amazing. News and gossip, we have some in our predictions, which we've been spot on. especially myself.
Nate.
Especially myself.
Especially Tehran.
Yeah, mostly Tehran though.
Mostly
Nate has been doing great. Ryan, why are you on this panel? What were your overall thoughts? At least tell us that.
Well, one other thing you forgot to keep in there is it's Miller time, y'all. We got Nate Miller in the chat, so comment away. We love all your support in the chat each and every week, and the show is just getting bigger and bigger. Overall thoughts, Tehran.
That's why you're unworthy, by the way.
Best
the Miller
show
time
on TV.
It definitely
this
is.
This thing is nuts. What other show would we freak out over a song, over just a line of dialogue that means something over the overarching of the show? I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Maybe it was both. Man, I'm in a paradox right now. There's nothing more entertaining on TV. Wake up, people. Tell all your friends to watch this show. This is special. What were your overall thoughts?
Nate Miller.
I mean, you said all the words.
That's because he heard them from you, and then he said them.
Yeah,
heard them from you.
I told him
20 minutes.
Future.
Yeah, see, I said them already, and then it really, really well executed show, of course, as every week. Definitely a little bit slower, I think, than a lot of people were maybe expecting. But there was still a lot of backstory to be had, and I think giving it in this way, especially with the exposition of how Manhattan sees time, like just like that issue of the comic, I think is really important for maybe viewers who haven't read the comic. So I thought it was really cool, really well done.
I was extremely impressed by the show. Last week, and then when I first started the show, I made a comment that this show makes me upset that it's not binge. Mm-hmm. I would need to watch it all. And now I realize I could not watch it all.
That was so
dumb.
dumb.
My brain might literally explode if I watched and tried to digest this all in one short time period. At this point already, I think I'm Dr. Manhattan. I just cannot express how amazing this show is done. I need to get Fog Dancing.
Yep.
By Max Shea.
I'll read it by next week.
Get that. We've seen that book come up so many times in the show. I need this book. Yes, Nate, you were about to say something?
So that's a book in the Watchmen universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can't get it?
No, it's not a real book.
No. That's because you don't live in the Watchmen universe. I do.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Okay.
I forgot that you travel dimensions.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
You
that
don't tell me until an hour from now.
I actually told you that in 3 months from now, but I forgot that I told you.
Genesis.
And this is
I
how
had
it works.
there's a big black space.
Why's it gotta be black? See, this is why I get annoyed with Nate Miller. Here's the thing. Whenever you get into time travel, it becomes a lot of wibbly wobbly, magical, back and forth. However, I have to say that if it comes to time travel, this show has done it, what I have seen in this episode, the best thus far. Where time travel exists as an equation in an algorithm. It is not, time is not linear. Everything is happening simultaneously.
Right.
And it's actually a true physics understanding of time in that manner. Because it's not a situation of going back, changing something, going forward, splitting it up. It's simply understanding that everything is happening simultaneously. Or at least Dr. Manhattan is doing so.
The way he perceives time.
The way he perceives time. And that the perception, because time is a perception, all of this plays a part into why I say every week this is the most compelling television show of all time.
Yeah, I just got chills.
I cannot express how amazing it is. Time is relative. Let's break down how Angela met Calvin. A lot of people were not on board with this storyline of taking it slow and getting to that build up at the end. Remember, especially there's only one episode left. And what we think could be possibly the entire series, because that has been expressed specifically by Ryan's main man.
Damon Lindelof, drink one.
Let's not get creative with his name.
Okay.
Let's give him the respect he deserves.
Lindelof.
There you go. Every time Ryan says,
take a shot. It's a fun drinking game at home. Get hammered.
that's the way it does not work for all of us. We do not condone that behavior. However, Lindelof has specifically said that this is going to be.
He's gone back and
He said it's unlikely that there will be another season.
I think he's been burned too many times with, all right, I have this big vision, and then it doesn't get the reception he hopes
He's
for.
been burned with what?
Well, The Leftovers wasn't as popular of a hit. It wasn't as big a show as this is. And The Lost was gigantic, and I think he didn't anticipate it to be as big as it was.
So he didn't get his chance with Lost, and he pretty much got his chance with Leftovers.
Right.
So I don't know where he's been
I
burned.
think it's all relative.
It's all relative, like time.
Just to quote him, he says, "I hadn't had the idea for a second season yet. I had the opportunity to be the steward for a couple of years. There is going to be more watching independently whether I do it. It should be done by someone who deeply cares about, has a reason to." So
Basically,
No
what
one
Dr.
else-
Manhattan told Angela.
No one else could do the show. If someone else takes over the show and it does not go in the way that it's going now, it will be a huge disappointment. And it would actually be disrespectful to this vision that was done so aptly and appropriately.
I agree.
So if someone takes it over
Okay.
and we see a Zack Snyder version of
threat?
it is a threat.
Okay.
It is a
Yeah,
threat.
HBO.
If someone
HBO
takes
execs.
this over,
Yeah.
if someone else takes this over,
What are you gonna do?
all I'm saying is February 13th. That's
All
all
right,
I'm
chat.
saying.
TikTok.
TikTok.
I want to know if the chat thinks, would you watch this show if they did a second season with a different showrunner?
Yeah, of course, we'd watch the show, but I'm just saying.
Also, we have 177 people in the
Holy
chat.
cow, people!
But
So shout out to
doing
you
it.
guys.
Hit that
but there's,
like button.
but there's got to be. It's not just about watching. Will you be as respected as an audience if someone else takes
Listen,
it over?
all I know is all relationships end in tragedy, and if that's the destiny for this show, so be it. But right now, I'm deeply in love.
Nate, how did you feel about the Angela Met Calvin?
Well, Tehran.
We're no longer. Ryan has been excluded. Ryan,
Now that you mention
you are
it.
being sent to Europa. Ryan, you are being sent to Europa.
That was good.
Godspeed, Ryan.
Godspeed.
Nate,
What was the question?
the question is how Angela met Calvin. Discuss.
Really cool. Kind of a nice little romantic scene. I was really concerned about how he was going to hold together this idea of Manhattan deciding to get involved in this life. But I think that the way that it played out actually kind of makes sense. And based on what we've seen from him in the book, he does kind of even post transformation, he develops these feelings for these relationships with women, which are obviously very hard for him to hold because he experiences time as no one else does, which has to be incredibly frustrating to be with, especially all the time.
It
So
is.
to see, for him to come into this bar and approach this conversation this way and have it play out, like the way that it was edited and the callbacks and like the different timelines, it was just really well done. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was really fascinating about how this show took just Dr. Manhattan in general, we got the Dr. Manhattan episode. We've been building up to this the entire season. We finally got it. And what's interesting in the comic and also the movie is it's that relationship with him and Laurie Blake. And that, like, yeah, there's this a god who he experiences everything in a very scientific manner. The relationship almost doesn't make sense to him. It's almost like his weakness. But to really just like dive deeply into that after we've been showed all that in the comic, I was really fascinated by that. And I did buy him wanting to just kind of go through his tunnel of love. He wanted to have his little blip period, put that thing in his head, and then he can just be a human, but he wouldn't be aware of it. I thought that was also really fascinating. So yeah, I thought that was beautifully well handled.
My take on, first of all, can we all agree that Dr. Manhattan had the best Mac style of all time? He sat down, he was like, here, brought her a drink. We're having dinner tomorrow night. We're going to be in a relationship for 10 years. It's going to end in tragedy. When are we talking about this? 6 months from now. What are we doing? We're having sex when this is
planned
happening.
it all.
He's telling her on the first date as he's experiencing it all simultaneously.
Right.
What happens in that 10 years? I don't know. I go to sleep, I wake up and you're there. And when I go to sleep, you're there. So 10 years. I mean, sheesh. Will you have dinner with me? I'm going to use this technique
Yeah.
on the one. The next song playing is going to be your favorite song. Doris Day's Tunnel of Love. Insert. Boom.
I don't know this song.
Right on.
It's now your
You've
favorite.
never heard the song. You're wrong. I've never heard the song before. And he just goes, it is now your favorite.
favorite song.
Wow.
Whoa.
Dr. Manhattan talks like Tehran. I'm going to say that. That is really how it works.
Right.
When you just know things, you know them.
Just certain.
We get this. We get the back and forth, the editing, brilliant. The way this is lined out. This is why I'm saying honestly, HBO's Watchmen is possibly the best written show on television because this is no easy feat. To be able to articulate this, you must think as Dr. Manhattan.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard for us to conceptualize what it's like to experience time in that way, and they did a really good job of trying to get that across. Because like I keep thinking to myself, like, why would he decide to do this? But for him, it's not that. He's just doing it.
I mean,
he's
he
doing
actually
everything that he's doing. He's just doing it.
Says something. One of my regrets regarding Vietnam, and then Angela questions, well, why would you do it if you knew you were going to regret it? And he specifically says, have you ever done something that you knew you were going to regret? Except because of the concept, it seems like, well, when we do something we think we're going to regret, it's we go on a date with someone we don't think we'll like, or whatever that is, something very minute. And when Dr. Manhattan does something he knows he'll regret, an entire country it gives itself up in a week. It's just a different scale and scope of what we are able to do and what we are able to affect.
But also too, like, it's all happening at the same time for him too. So in one sense that he can see the future and see things that have already happened, he also is experiencing it at the same time. So it's just like when Angela tells him about her parents and he goes, and he's like surprised. And she goes, you already told me about that. And he goes, you just told me right now. So it's like fucking mind blowing. Like,
It's kind of crazy.
So it was so brilliant.
also mind blowing. We have 236 people in the chat.
Wow.
And we only have 28 likes.
People.
Please, come on.
Give us likes if
Hit
you
those
feel
thumbs
like
up
we
button.
deserve it.
But you know what?
We appreciate
I
you.
know that you will hit those likes because I've seen them in the future.
Because in
Whoa.
5
I'm
minutes from now,
experiencing
you
it
all
right
hit
now.
like,
We
I'm
see
seeing the
100
like
likes
button
in
going
5
up.
minutes from now. And
which is now. And
I knew that was going to happen too.
I knew that was going to happen 2
Which
minutes.
is why you
I had
caught
to
it.
let it happen.
Which is why you caught it. I was going to let it drop and regret it, but that's because I often do things that I know I'm going to regret.
Can I just say, I really didn't think I was going to buy the ending of this episode, but somehow they pulled that off.
Can we talk about that during
We'll
Buy or
talk about
Sell?
it during Buy or Sell, but I got it has to do with this relative conversation of doing something you know you're going to regret and maybe asking, it's kind of answering that question for you, like why? You just want to experience it. I think that's the answer.
Well, what was the answer when choosing a body? How did that play out for each and every one of you? We bypassed 3 other bodies. We bypassed Dalvin Noy, 26, accidental gas leak. Michael Declan, 36, heroin overdose, and William Heath, 33, who basically blew his head off.
Right.
We bypassed them for Calvin Jelani.
Heart attack.
Heart
Maybe.
attack.
No autopsy. No family.
No family, no one to pay for an autopsy. We're thinking, is there more to do with that body? Why we chose that body? And why did Angela not show him that body to begin with?
Because he's black. Oh, sorry. Were we? Is that not what we were?
No, I was.
Is that not where we were going?
No, I'm asking.
Oh, that's why I laughed.
Because it's 2009 now and you're not able to culturally appropriate the same way. Such a good point. Once again, the social commentary coming into play. Because we get Calvin, who we all really like Calvin. Did everyone like Dr. Manhattan Blue? Did we like that character? The voice, the context, not seeing his face until Calvin?
Yeah, I think it was good that they did that.
I thought it was a creative choice where it was kind of so that we didn't really need to have an opinion. They didn't give us the time of day to see his face without it being Calvinized. And also, I thought the voice was subtle enough. It sounded like there was some kind of warp on it to what his original voice was. We don't really have the luxury of hearing what his voice was before in this adaptation.
I think from a story point too, it was to help hide the reveal that Crookshaw and what's her name Stanks on Europa are not Joel and Jane, as a lot of people were theorizing, and that in fact it was these other people. So by hiding that face too, it was still kind of pushed that, because if they showed right away that's not what he looks like, then it would have been like,
because he did not create them in his own image, he created them in theirs, the people who were part of him. Because we get this storyline on him. I also saw that the reveal on the face reminded me of this movie and experience, not to invite fatwa on myself, however, The Messenger, in which Muhammad is never to be shown. So there is no likeness of Muhammad. Unlike Jesus, where we see an image of Jesus everywhere, at least the westernized version image of Jesus everywhere. When it comes to Muhammad, you will not see an image of Muhammad for the most part by anyone who believes or accreditates Islam and being Muslim. So you will not see that. That's kind of what it reminded me of, not being shown his face, Dr. Manhattan's face during that time. We didn't get to see his face. I wasn't a fan of the voice. I'm not going to lie. The voice seemed a little off-putting.
It was too warped.
I feel like it was supposed to be. I mean,
I thought it was too warped.
I think everyone has their own kind
I
of
like the
interpretation.
deepening of the voice. I didn't like the reasoning for the deepening of the voice, but I did not like the original voice because it did not sound godlike enough for me. Maybe because the voice of the movie is stuck in my head. That could possibly be it.
That's it for me.
Would have been cool. But it's also, I didn't like the, hey, Angela, I'm Dr. Manhattan. I mean, at that point, Angela would have been like, you know what? You're great. Your voice is so emasculating. I just can't do this.
Same with him as a kid. It sounded like his kid voice.
The kid voice. Let's talk about that background where we get John's personal background, escaping, of course, from Germany, Heidelberg, Germany, with his father having the Jewish ancestry, and now we see 1936.
And his mom leaving his father for an
SS officer.
Like, jeez.
It happens, bro. Don't you watch
Keep an eye on
Jerry
them.
Springer? It happens all the time. So we get this, and Hans Osterman, his father, takes him, and they go to this manor, which is owned by two people who are basically essentially helping Jews escape.
Yeah, taking in refugees.
They seem to be extremely kind people. He sees them having sex from the cupboard and creates his Adam and Eve in their image.
Well, they take him aside and they go, see, what was happening was we were trying to make
We were trying to create life.
We were trying to create life. One day you'll create life.
Go straight for the gusto
Create some
there.
life, John.
No, create something beautiful.
Create something beautiful, John. I'm
And-
going to create something beautiful.
And he did. He created Europa.
Yeah.
And he created life on Europa based on basically the glass that he saw.
Right, the idea of seeing an enclosed kind of atmospheric space at the same time as he's, up there creating that.
And he creates that on Europa. So we get this storyline of where Europa is, what Europa is, how the Crookshanks and Skanks and Panks and Mr. Banks, they keep being brought out of this lake, this amniotic fluid that they are created out of.
And the first two were them.
And we get all of that. And it was, the first two were them, and then it goes from there. They're all created in that image. What were your thoughts on Europa?
I loved Europa, and you can tell they saved the visual effects budget for this episode because that was absolutely beautiful. Just him creating life in a few minutes. I think it was 2 minutes.
It took him 90 seconds.
Took him 90 seconds, which was typical. Absolutely, that was gorgeous.
He didn't need 6 days and rest on the 7th. No, he just did it in 90 seconds.
That's right. And I think I really like the comparison of Adam and Eve in there, and that the Adam, quote unquote, Adam is now the game master.
Yes.
And he's been there this entire time, and you can see the impact that it's had on him witnessing a god from the start of this planet or this place they're living on. It's a moon, not Jupiter. But yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed everything on there. It was answering a ton of questions I think people have had for weeks as to where exactly Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt was, and now we know this is Europa. It's where Dr. Manhattan created something beautiful.
Well, one of us predicted it was Europa, but we won't get into that. It was me. And so we get this image of Europa. Were you as impressed by Europa?
Yeah. I mean, I had always kind of assumed that Dr. Manhattan was behind it. It kind of made the most sense, especially since the last time we saw him, he literally said, like, I'm going to go create new life. So, like, he kind of said exactly that. He was going to do that. I thought it was really interesting, like, this idea that he also lets slip that he's not on Mars, that he's like, that there's a projection. So
it's like a recording that keeps playing over and over.
And it's interesting that he doesn't seem to have an issue with that, or like, what the implications of that means. But yeah, I mean, this idea that he comes and creates this paradise, and
Why should he have an issue with that, though?
I mean, I would have an issue if someone was saying, like, I guess the question is why do they want people to think that he's on Mars?
Well, they don't want people to think he's on Earth because they're afraid of him.
Right.
And so as long as we think he's on Mars, we know that he's very far away.
I guess, yeah.
And it keeps showing him on Mars over and over. But we also get Veidt asking him, saying, I took a risk on what? Assuming you had morals.
Yeah.
So this plays, when you become a god, the morals and the moral implications completely change.
Yes.
We often anthropomorphize God, and we assume that his logic or her logic would be as our own. When their logic would be so above our own, we would not even be able to begin to understand. It would be similar in the concept of, if there was an ant, we know TVs exist. I could explain to you possibly how a TV works, but we still wouldn't really understand it fully. But we could never express that or explain that to an ant. That would be the concept of a god's logic to a human.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a lot to unpack, and I really it's so layered. In fact, like just even talking about, Ozymandias or Agent Veidt and Dr. Manhattan, we witnessed him creating life and having that develop, and then having that quandary of, I don't want to leave, and everyone there is just praising him. There's no conflict, there's no war there, but there was really nothing for him there anymore.
Exactly. So he's actually, both John and Adrian are placed in a situation where they think they're getting exactly what they want.
Right.
John is getting the life he gets to lead, a life of
Leisure.
normalcy.
Yeah.
And Adrian is getting the world he's always been hoping to create, one in which he's being worshipped and everything's peaceful in the world. And yet, for both of them, we have very different outcomes.
They're not satisfied.
Well, I don't know. John seems as if he was satisfied. It did work out for John, but it did not work out for Adrian.
I think we're still yet to see with John. I couldn't really tell. I don't have a fair ruling on that, but it definitely didn't work out for Adrian.
I felt like it worked out, and I'll tell you, because John was so enthusiastic when we saw Plan A and it was irradiated, and he didn't know what was in it. And he was like, I can't. Like, he was excited that he didn't know something.
He was excited about the unknown, but
because he hasn't felt fear since 1956. So he hasn't felt he hasn't been surprised in 50 years.
He just wanted to feel something,
exactly.
man.
He hasn't felt or been surprised by things since 1959 in Gillette, New Mexico. He hasn't felt any of these things. So it's possibly, the last we know is when that tachyon field by Veidt basically encapsulated him. That was the last time he might have felt surprised.
Yeah, he had the generators running. So
exactly. He had the
was
intrinsic field subtractor. And so that was his plan B. So we find out about plan A. As far as plan B goes, you at home are not our plan B. You are our plan A. You're as important, if not more important, than all of our hosts and panelists on this panel right now.
That's right, and we just thoroughly enjoy seeing you in the chat each and every week. Please hit that like button. There are
How many people in the chat?
284 of you in the chat right now. Thank you so much for all your support. We love Watchmen just like you, and this is not just a panel of 3. It's a panel of everyone at home watching along with us.
Well, technically 287 right now.
You are the fourth seat. Where is Drew? Anyway, please hit that like button, go on iTunes, give us a review. I will shout it out on air, and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in and making us the ESPN of TV Talk.
Any shout outs we can give at this moment?
Yeah.
Who's alive in the chat? Because the chat is having a field
Is
day.
anybody alive out there?
Is popping. We got Grayson Ryan in the chat saying that Keller probably knew that Cal was Dr. Manhattan because Judd was either the guy who got zapped or witnessed it.
Jay Santee, KB.
Man, there's
Deadly.
a lot of people in here.
What else
Emperor
are they saying?
Ibex.
Carlton Young.
Second Grace's content. Yes, sir. They're all praising you, Tehran. They're loving it.
Yeah, they're all saying Tehran has perfect predictions and he knows everything before it happens.
That's what they should be saying.
That's crazy.
Feble Ali Khan,
Carlton
Natasha
Taylor
Collins.
says Angela incepted her grandfather and got Judd killed.
Well, the concept is the chicken or the egg.
Right.
That is an actual great topic to discuss. the paradox where we get, so Calvin gets woke. Angela wakes up Dr. Manhattan. The 10 years is up.
Mom and Dad, there's someone walking on the swimming pool.
There's a blue man walking on the swimming pool. Dad, Mom!
That's your
They
father.
call him Dad 5 times and Mom once, barely.
At least he wasn't naked.
That's true.
That's actually a great point. That's a great point. Why was he not naked?
They yelled, "There's a naked man."
Because he was already wearing clothes.
There were kids. There are kids out there.
Right.
So he's walking on the pool. He's awake. He's.
Angela's like, "Get out the pool," and then he's like, "You have to see me on here."
I
for
love
later.
how Angela talks to Dr. Manhattan. Talks to him just like so regular. Like she gets frustrated with his actions and the things that he does when he just teleports into the kitchen because he's hungry or whatever he says. I just love it.
That's great.
Like I love it.
And but yeah, he basically drops on her. I'm talking right now with your grandfather at the same exact time as I'm talking to you. And you have any questions for him?
And that question, so we see that before John, as Dr. Manhattan, takes uses plan A to make him forget,
Right.
he goes and needs to speak to the grandfather. He needs to speak to William Reeves, who is not aware that he has a granddaughter, but will be, is not aware of Judd Crawford.
But will be.
Because Angela asked the question of
Why'd you kill Judge Crawford?
Dr. Manhattan while
is
he's
there a
speaking
robe? Yeah.
to William Reeves, because time is simultaneous. Why did you kill Judge Crawford? And William Reeves says,
And
who is Judge Crawford?
and why is there? How'd you know there was a robe in his closet? The 2 questions.
And we see, well, the first one, the basic one that he actually asked was,
Yeah. Why'd you kill him?
why'd you kill Judge Crawford? And William Reeves responds,
Who's Judge Crawford?
who's Judd Crawford?
Bum bum bum.
So now Angela realizes that she may have started all of this in motion, put it all in motion. And that's often what happens when you talk about time paradox on an actual metaphysical level.
And he was explaining to her, regardless of how it started, it was going to happen. This just how it worked out. You did start it, which is it's a mind-blowing concept to think about, but that really hammers the point home. Like we've actually got to witness.
Do you think they had an expert on quantum mechanics when they did this episode?
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought someone in. I also would not be surprised that they did their own research. There's some books that you can read that break it down in theoretical ways.
Yeah, but this wasn't string theory here. This was an understanding of time that was Einsteinian.
I mean, we know Damon's
it's-
great with this, though. He's done this in his other shows as well. Like Lost, he really gets into this.
It's also theoretical too. So there's some freedom in being able to.
I knew you were going to say that. You've said that to me before, but I don't understand the concept of before. You said that to me 15 minutes from now.
We just crossed 300 people in the chat.
As we should. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes an entire country, a world to understand the show. It literally does.
yeah.
We need everyone's comments in the chat. Comment, subscribe, share. We love your theories, by the way, on each and every episode. Please let us know what you're thinking. Okay, so we get this paradox. We see Calvin meets with William Reeves. He thinks it's because he's Hooded Justice. It's because he's Angela's grandfather.
Yeah.
He's living in Nilsen Gardner, Captain Metropolis's old
place.
mansion.
Right.
By the way.
Mansion, okay.
So he did.
So-
We find out that he did, in fact, take his possessions from the will.
He did. He got the possessions from the will, and he lives there. So we get the paradox, the family, and then tragedy. All relationships end in tragedy, Ryan.
Why? Okay.
You know why. So here's my thing. We see the tragedy.
What's your thing, man?
That scene where the moment he falls in love with Angela, he's asked that question, and we find out that moment is that 10 years from the moment he was asked the question, he sees Angela do
This is the best part
the
of the whole
most
episode.
impossible.
This is the best part of the whole
Nothing
episode.
can save me. She still goes out
She
there.
knows nothing's going to save him, and she still goes out there, risks her life, and takes out a bunch of 7th Cavalry. Badass. Awesome song. We
Yes.
were standing watching this part of the episode, and then someone turned the TV off. But it was great. And
Accidentally, and then we turned it back on and rewatched it. So let's not.
It was meant to be.
Make it be like we
that's
didn't
right.
see it happen.
We did see it.
We paused it, we watched
paused
it,
it.
rewinded, and paused it, and
out
watched
some
it all.
anger.
But the concept is the tragedy. What did you think, Nate?
I mean, emotionally, it was rough. I think they played it really well. I just conceptually am not. I'm still 100% on board. I get the whole like things have to happen thing, but I'm just not. I'm counting on more explanation from John next episode.
Why he didn't just go to Jupiter or
Right.
something? Why he didn't just get himself out of it?
Why didn't?
Zap
Why
them
don't you
all
blow up
simultaneously?
dismantle the cannon? Like you
You are
have
Dr.
the power
Manhattan.
to do all like. So I'm hoping I'm very confident that there is some explanation, but for now I'm just still kind of like, we saw literal God, we saw him do all this stuff, we know how strong he is, and then now he just
That's actually one of my things. It's a Superman fallacy where Superman is so powerful. Why does he succumb to very stupid things?
Yeah.
So it's also one of the things like, why do bank robbers constantly shoot at Superman? You know he's bulletproof. Why do you still shoot him? It's one of those things, the Superman fallacy, which is what makes Superman such a difficult character to portray, is because he has so many power. He's so strong,
Right.
It's hard to see him be weak. This is one of those situations where Dr. Manhattan is so powerful when he does something that we as the audience are watching like, why didn't you just use your powers adequately? You are Dr. Manhattan. You could literally you don't even actually have to lift your hand. I don't know why he constantly uses his actual hand. He can think, and all of the trucks and all the people could zap away to be dismantled, be destroyed.
Well, I think we're going to find out why he let that happen. It might have had something to do with protecting Angela and the rest of the family. If they don't get him then might get him some other time. I think we're going to figure that out. But I mean, the big takeaway there was we get to see the moment that he actually fell in love with her. That was the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet, Ryan. That's all you cared about.
That is what I cared about.
I love that. Hey, man.
Yeah,
all,
man.
all relationships end in tragedy. So here's my thing with the tragedy. A lot of people, that was the action sequence, and it was full of action. We saw guns. We saw Angela run out there. And we're like, okay, this is a great setup for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
What's left? We get the credit scene, and we get the "Will you stay, master?" and the tomatoes being rubbed on
Yeah.
Adrian Veidt's face. And then he's in jail, and he receives the horseshoe. I thought that the cake's blue was going to transfer him Dr. Manhattan's powers. I'm still thinking
I was
somehow
thinking that too.
that is going to happen. We saw that with the drink and the egg. Somehow his powers will be transferred to someone else.
He said that it's possible.
He said
that is
theoretically
a
it's
Chekhov's
possible.
gun that's going to happen.
That is what I'm thinking.
But he starts digging with that horseshoe and laughing maniacally.
So much is going to happen.
A year goes by, he's going to dig the whole way out.
Let's get into our special segment, shall we? Buy or sell, where we take a part of the episode which we buy and one that we sell. Our favorite and our possible least favorite, which doesn't mean we hated it, just it was the one where we could do without. Ryan Nilsen.
I mean, the thing I am selling is everyone not watching this show because this is just hands down the best thing on TV. Yes, hands down the best thing on TV. And if you're like, oh, I'm gonna save it, I'm gonna binge it later, you're missing out. You're missing out on the week-long discussion. It's not gonna be as good. It's not gonna be as impactful. So catch up.
Steph Sabra, how are you?
And I'm buying everything. I'm buying this entire show. I'm buying Dr. Manhattan. I'm buying the idea that he can give someone else his powers because that is something I wasn't fully aware of.
Nate Miller.
That's interesting. I am buying Dr. Manhattan going to meet up with Veidt in his old Antarctica place, and Veidt's just there, like, being super bitter.
And
That
by the way,
was
he was
so
naked.
awesome.
He was naked.
He
And as an
was
actor,
naked.
I'm saying this. Something that needs to be given credit are that the actors are naked in the scenes. Those aren't body doubles. They show the actor. Honestly, if they are
Showing
body
it.
doubles,
He
that's
had
crazy.
nothing to hide.
That was ballsy, to say the least. I mean that in every way. But we also see Crookshanks and Stanky Banks. They
stuck
are
it out.
also naked
yeah.
as well.
Stuck it out.
And he's walking, and that's probably real snow somewhere that they're showing. And he walks in. I'm going to go with that was real snow
Sure,
somewhere.
let's run with it.
I thought it was amazing. And Yaya Wawa.
Oh God.
I love him. I love.
Okay.
And he
okay.
was.
All right. And I'm selling.
Dude.
I'm selling Angela.
347 people in the chat.
Charging
Just called him
into
Yaya.
all those guys with just a handgun and not getting shot.
Yes.
And killing all like.
silencer.
I'm sorry. For me, this is where. This is the
Sister
one.
Night.
This is really quick. This is the one actual. I feel I'm kind of upset about this because Damon has talked about how the characters in Watchmen are just supposed to be real people and like that they're tough and stuff, but they're just supposed to be real people. And this was really, really action hero-y. So I'm just gonna roll with it. But yeah, I'm selling it.
I understand that. Yes, and I call Yahya Abdul Mateen second Yahya Manamana because
Do
he was swinging. Listen,
Oh, dude.
I don't care. No, look, I don't care.
He had that MF thing
He
on.
had
You know what I'm saying?
Listen, if
yeah,
I don't know if
He
he's
let the trunk down.
if he's married or not,
Yo.
but that is not an easy thing to do. Is just walk naked because we're looking at a show, but there is a cast, there is crew, there are
Completely
cameras,
agree, completely,
there are
yeah.
people there just filming you,
Yep.
and he's walking through the cold. That's so much
Shrinkage.
There was Yaya is the man. Good for him. That's strong. That's
for
strong.
you.
And honestly, it has made me. I would do that too.
Oh, would you?
I
Kept
would.
the legend alive.
I would. That's great. When you got it, you flaunt it. So when it comes to buying, I'm going to buy the way Dr. Manhattan perceived time.
Got it.
I bought that fully.
Love it.
When it comes to sell, I'm going to sell the kids not being more excited that
Great
a
call.
man is walking on the pool who looks like Calvin. They're looking at him like, Dad, Mom. No, it's not that. It's
He kind of looks like Calvin.
it's a little more enthusiasm. It is.
Come on
Let's
now.
get into some news and gossip, shall we?
AfterBuzz TV News.
When it comes to news and gossip this week, our friends at Polygon.com did an entire article on Dr. Manhattan's actual powers and how they boggle the mind. A man with matter manipulation and nonlinear memory. So the entire understanding of what Dr. Manhattan is able and capable of doing is something that Polygon has written down. It has taken their actual feed from the comic book itself and puts it in place, as well as spoilers for the 8th episode of Watchmen. So you might want to read this Polygon to understand better and fully the quantum physics of Dr. Manhattan and his actual powers.
We're at 96 likes, by the way. Please, come on, 4 more likes. Let's get to 100, y'all.
We are at
That's
98
not
likes
how
now.
4 more likes work. To get to 100, we would need 3. But to get over 100, we would need 4. And I think that everyone should like because they will. That is how that works. And more importantly, they're going to love our predictions. Let's get into them right now. Let's start
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
with the wrong one, which is Ryan Nilsen.
Cool. I'm actually going to shout one out that Roxy Stryer was talking to me about this week. Also a massive fan of the show. This is a deep cut comic kind of prediction. Back in Vietnam, when the comedian and Dr. Manhattan are having a conversation at a bar, there's a pregnant woman that comes in and she's like, oh, this is my child. And the comedian shoots her. The prediction is
Yes.
that she had a child and that child was Lady True.
That is amazing. That is not your prediction, so you dropping your headphones does nothing.
I take that prediction.
Sure.
That's
Nate Miller.
That's a great prediction.
I like it a lot.
I'm pretty sure Vite said that True was his daughter this episode. I'm like 90% sure. My
I don't recall.
prediction is there's something in the pool. Somebody's getting Manhattan's powers. I don't think it's 7th Cavalry, but they wouldn't have mentioned it otherwise. And I think maybe, there's got to be something else with Hooded Justice because he is working with Trio, but he also talks to Manhattan, and there's something more to that conversation.
He says he would not give the powers without his consent. I'm wondering if the kid gets it. I would think that's crazy. Yes, don't worry. We are going to wrap up, but this is not a one-line prediction kind of show. So we're going to get into the concept of also, I think that when we get into that last thing, it doesn't unfold the way Dr. Manhattan thinks it will. And I think Adrian has a lot to do with it specifically.
Yeah, I think
So we'll see that.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm kind of surprised, but also now, like, that I look at it, not that surprised that Adrian still hasn't linked up with them.
But it's working towards that.
We're getting there.
And Adrian's
there's only
always
one
the
left,
X
so
factor.
it has to be the
I
next
think
one.
Adrian's always the X
Yeah.
factor that Dr. Manhattan cannot actually just understand.
Shake off,
Yeah.
Adrian, how did you know it was me? You know, just things like that. Dr. Manhattan has met his match. It is his Lex Luthor to the Superman,
Exactly.
but in the right kind of way. So it's great to see that. Where can people find you, Ryan Nilsen, if you want to be found?
Ryan Nilsen on Twitter and at Ryan Nilsen _ on Instagram. Thank y'all so much. 122 likes in the chat. God bless y'all.
Nate Miller.
Guys, I am Nate Miller. You can find me everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, Zynga, Tumblr, Dog Like Nate, 2 G's.
2 G's. Where can they find you, Tehran?
Well, you can find me on Europa. You can also find me simultaneously in the AfterBuzz studio, or you can find me at the same exact time, same damn time at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at I am Tehran, IAMTEH, all across the board, TEHRAN. It's literally on every article of clothing that I have, and hosting and paneling on a slew of other AfterBuzz after shows, because all of your favorite TV shows are my favorite TV shows too. Until next week. TikTok, 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 TikTok.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.